Anchors hold the ship down and prevents it from setting sail. When the anchor is lifted, the ship sails away. Our conscious and subconscious minds are internal anchors. They work together to shape us to be who we are, building our minds and grounding us into unique states of existence. The work they do prevents us from losing stability and traveling to unstable states of mind. But we are only conscious of 5% of cognitive activity, leaving 95% of our mind, actions, thoughts, and feelings to be controlled by the unconscious, rather than the unknown. How much of what we do are we aware of? Are there decisions that we make that we think we're in control of, but we actually aren't? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as y'all can see, today's video is going to be a little bit different. So I'm not going to be making artwork, but talking about my artwork. So this is one of my paintings. This is called the Unexplored Anchors. I made it in May of last year. I nailed two 16 by 20 inch canvases together to make it this big one. This is 32 by 20 inches. So y'all, there's a lot going on in this painting, and y'all probably wondering what all this means, how everything connects, and I'm about to explain that to y'all.
1, 2, 3.
My darling, I love you, 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 I love you.
I got me a whole bunch of notes that I wrote out last night so I could explain everything about this painting. So, y'all just listen to a little voiceover where I explain, where I gave like a general description about the painting, like what it means. So like basically the pieces about the conscious and subconscious mind and how they work together, and like what happens if they were to, I guess, separate and not be working together. So I'm gonna explain the piece from the top up, from the top down. I want like here, and I'm gonna go up to here, then I'm gonna just make my way down. So y'all gonna see me look down a lot because I had to write this down. It's a lot to say. All right, y'all. So to start, we're gonna start with this girl, her. So she doesn't have a name, she's just there. So she represents, first, before we get into that, the conscious and subconscious mind are represented in like two ways. So these two girls are like a physical representation of it, and then these two are like a mental representation of it, and kind of figurative because of the little apple, but we'll get to that. So to start, she is a representation of the subconscious mind, and she is representation of the conscious mind. So as y'all saw in the little intro that I made, which I just watched, the subconscious mind holds most of our information, like our memories. It controls our actions, our feelings, our thoughts, all of that. So in this little scene up here, the subconscious mind, her, is controlling the conscious mind. Her hair stretches out and like tingles her, is raveled around her, and is suspending her in the air to represent the control that the subconscious mind has over most of our body. Her arm reaches outward towards these books that are flying away into the distance away from her. These books represent all of the information that's stored in our mind, and she's reaching for them, but they're flying away from her in the direction that the representation of the subconscious mind sits. So the girl who represents the subconscious mind sits behind sits behind her, which is representation of the conscious mind, or humans, and our attempt to hold on to all of the information that we receive, that we hear, that we take in throughout our lives, but it's not possible to like remember every single thing that we hear, that we see, that we're told, that we feel. So all that is just flying away into the clouds, into the distance, and she's reaching for it, but there's really no way for her to grasp onto it. Like her hand disappears into the clouds and into the hair, and it's all just like a mess, and there's a lot going on here. Okay, so to quickly explain that small thing I just mentioned, the books are basically flying back into the clouds, but also in the direction of the area where this representation of the subconscious mind sits. So it's representing the idea that all of this information and memories and feelings that is stored in our mind just goes back to our subconscious, and that's really where it sits and where it's stored. Now, in addition to her being the subconscious mind and her hair representing sort of like the control that it has over us as humans and the way that it dominates most of our mind, our memories, all of that, it travels up into this little blue ball, and it just goes back into the distance, into the clouds, and eventually, you lose sight of it and it's gone. And that just represents how vast our subconscious mind is, because in the intro I said, in quotes, we are only conscious of 5% of cognitive activity, leaving 95% of our mind to be controlled by the unconscious. And then on this little path of hair that travels throughout this top part, we have this little person walking along the hair, which is another representation of humans in our attempt to gain control over everything that we feel, hear, our thoughts, our actions, all of that. But he's in the clouds, you can barely see his body, so it's like, once again, there's no real way for us to gain full control over every single one of our thoughts and feelings and emotions, everything we feel, all of that. So that's this top part. So we have the subconscious mind over here, and we have a representation of humans over here in our attempt to hold on to all of the information, but there's really no way for us to do that, because subconscious mind, her, is so expansive that like our thoughts, feelings, emotions over time, they're just gonna fly away and leave, and we'll soon forget about them. So moving down, we see she floats above this window that opens up and reveals this new world, and this new world is another representation of how vast and expansive the subconscious mind is. And it's like there's no real way for this person and her to get into here. Like there's no access to this world, and it's like, once again, representing the idea that like there's no access to every single one of our thoughts. And as time goes on, this window and this world is gonna sink into the water, and it'll be gone. And it's like the memories, the thoughts, the feelings we once had, they're all gonna be gone. And then there's gonna be a new set of feelings, emotions, actions that we do to experience each day, week, month, year. So yeah, this top section is mainly about the subconscious mind and how that plays a role in our lives as humans, but experiencing so many things and so many thoughts, going through so many actions that it's not really possible to hold on to everything. We have the books with our information that we once knew, the thoughts that we once had, the feelings we once felt flying away. This world where everything is unknown, there's nothing that we can really discover, there's no access, and soon it'll sink and all be gone. So moving down to this next section, we have this ladder, right, that comes from the house inside of this world and stretches out. We're gonna pass this middle section for now, but the ladder comes out and stretches down into this bottom scene. This bottom scene is a mental representation of the subconscious. No, am I right? No, of the subconscious and the conscious mind, and what happens when they're separated. The two minds work together. Like, if they were to be separated, we wouldn't really be functioning as well as we are now, because they work together to control our thoughts, actions, feelings, emotions, make us normal, I guess you could say. So, this little head that she is holding on to is the subconscious mind, and she's looking. This girl, has just removed her head, and she looks back at herself as a flower grows from her neck. Her face is blank, there's no expression, there's no feeling, and that's because the two minds have just been separated, and now there's a flower growing from her neck, something you wouldn't ever really see in real life. So another representation of what happens when the two minds are separated. Inhumane things start to happen, and you become out of the ordinary, like not yourself. She grew a pair of wings, there's flowers growing from her neck. She's staring back at herself, she has no control over what's going on. Her face is blank, there's no expression, there's no feeling there. And then on top of her head is an apple, which I'm kind of excited because I'm proud of myself. This apple on top of her head is a reference to the forbidden fruit. I'm pretty sure it was red in the Bible. Here I made it green. That was just an impulsive choice that I made. I was like, why not be different, make it green? But it's another representation of the tragedy that happens when the two minds are separated. So, as we all know, in the Bible, Eve ate the apple. Her and Adam got sent out of heaven. Everything went wrong. Here, the two minds are separated. Weird things start to happen. She's growing wings. There's a flower growing from her neck. There's an apple on her head that she doesn't even know where it came from. And the stem has wings. And it's like, none of this is normal. None of this is something that would truly be happening. And then around them, we have these hands and fingers reaching out from the water and from this mysterious plant. And this is an attempt to rejoin the two minds, an attempt to gain control over stability and, let's say, normalness in the way in which we functioned when the two minds were working together, when her head was actually on her neck. And then we have the water from this top scene where this mysterious world floats, and it's all just flowing, and it's flooding the environment, the surrounding. And once again, that's the lack of control that we have over a lot of our thoughts, feelings, emotions. Like, there's some things that we can do in the moment that we're aware of and that we can do to change certain situations, but speaking long term, there's no full control that we have over a lot of the things we feel, we think, the information we take in, all things like that. And now we have this umbrella and a train. The train represents travel, going somewhere, trying to make sense of everything that we're told, trying to take the information that we feel and make use of it. But sometimes it's hard to do that. So this train is drowning in the water. The water's like going over it. It's stuck in the water. There's no wheels on it. It's not on tracks. There's nowhere for it to go. This umbrella sits. Well, there's no real symbolic meaning as to where it is, but this umbrella sits here Now, what the umbrella is meant to do? Protect you from the rain. But this umbrella is upside down. Once again, another representation of the tragedy that happens when the two minds are separated. As you see here, they control much more than what we can see and then what we can comprehend. We have the physical representation of the two, the mental representation of the two, a look at what happens when they're separated, I guess you could say, chaos that occurs, and yeah, and could also say that these kind of almost storm clouds represent another form of tragedy and what happens when the two are separated. Because like the water floods here and it's building up to this scene. Well, not building up, but it's flowing down to this scene where the two minds have been separated and this moment of like insanity has happened. And it's like she's in shock, but you can't see it because she's been separated from her body, which represents the subconscious mind. She's been separated from a key part of herself that allows her to think, to feel things, to take in information. So the water floods into this scene, but it also flows up to here and builds up to these fluffy purple and blue storm clouds that watch over everything that's happening in this scene. This white step is sort of just like another representation of how vast and expansive it is. So we have this step that leads down to this hole that goes down beyond what we can see. At this moment, I'm thinking a lot about what this painting means, what everything means, but there's probably a lot more going on in the back of my mind than I know about. And this hand, I'm not gonna hold y'all. The hand is just there to look cute. If y'all could think of any meaning that it has based on everything else, then that's great. But this hand was truthfully just like an impulsive thing. I was like, what if I put a hand here? And I did put a little butterfly on it. It's flying away. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so that was probably a whole lot of information. So to sum it down, or that was really okay. Overall, this piece is about the idea that there's more to the way we function and the way we live and the way we breathe than just, our heart beating or us breathing. There's these two minds that work together and do a lot of things that we're unaware of. That's all for this painting. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope this painting makes a little bit more sense to y'all. I know usually I just post paintings and then put the little title in the caption and then go about my day, but I feel like I don't really ever go this in depth about my painting. So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope everything makes a little bit more sense now, and hope y'all can understand more about the mind and what really happens and how much there is that we're not aware of and that's going on that we really have little to no control over. But hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'll be doing a lot more of these in the future with more of my paintings, breaking them down, going in depth about each part of them. And yeah, see y'all in the next video.